Hi everyone, can you listen me or can you hear me? Is there anyone there? Hey Abdallah, hey BitLab. Thank you for joining. Now let's see how many people get here because there have been so many mixed dates and changes and wrongly setting up the streaming, and I'm so sorry for everything. But I'm quite new on this on YouTube configuration, and probably did a typo as well. So let's go with the flow. I think. I don't expect any amount of people to join. To be honest, maybe I will do a quick advertisement into LinkedIn, just to make sure that people is aware that this is starting and if they believe that this can be useful. So let me just do the quick announcement or sharing, and then I'll switch over here. Then we'll start. And actually, well, the idea of this session again is to more be a talkative way, right? Obviously, I will share more or less how I do prepare for the CCIE journey, right? A bit of background of how I started and how I started studying things, and what I believe it worked for me, right? Probably it can work for you as well. So that's the overall idea of this session, right? To be more like talkative as well. And if you have any question to ask during the session as well, is the idea is to answer, right? To answer those questions and look for the best that I could share to you, right? That's my main objective. So I'll do the quick advertisement into LinkedIn. Okay, we hired 6 people. Okay, so let's go by the flow, right? And the idea of the session is to be maybe around 1 hour. That's my target, right? And again, it's more the talkative way, right? So there is nothing really preparing presentation or sharing a PPT. The ones that were taking the course with me, that I am delivering. That I don't like too much PPTs. Hey, Virison, thanks for joining. We just started, so you're on time. So the ones that knows me and have been taking some of my course, and probably as well, that if you have been seeing some of my videos related to SP, I don't like to use PPTs, right? It's not that I don't use it, but I prefer to draw by myself and try to reflect the knowledge over a whiteboard, right? That's the way that also works for me, and I can share the most that I know, right? And that's why today I don't plan to have any PPT. I don't plan to have any presentation. It's just talking and sharing a bit of the knowledge, right? That I might know, and maybe it can be useful for you, right? Okay, so we are 8 people. Now, maybe guys from the one that we are here, who are working in a service provider environment, or who have been seeing some SP related technologies. Maybe you can write it down in the chat, and then I can know from which area you are, right? I mean, from which technology you are, if it's from service provider or not, which technologies you see in your day to day, right? That will be really nice to know. Yeah. While we do a bit of time, maybe leave some minutes for more people to join, and if not, we start. So feel free to drop message in the chat. That will be quite good. Okay, so Virison said, I work for 11 years, currently working an enterprise. Okay. BitLab said, SD Access, enterprise networking, and security. Very good. Okay. Okay. Even though in enterprise you see many of the SP technologies as well, right? In some enterprise environment you see many enterprise, many SP technologies. Sorry. Okay. So Virison said ISPs. Good. Okay. So you are totally deep, probably Virison, right? In SP stuff. Segment routing, traffic engineering, and those things, right? So it's quite interesting topics that are a lot of content, right? That are a lot of content, and most of the information are out there, but sometimes it's really how to digest that information, right? That's what matters whenever we are learning a topic, right? And okay, so now we are 13 people. Great. So let's just keep it growing. I don't have any expectations to have a lot of people. I just want to share a bit of the knowledge, and then we exchange ideas, maybe questions, and so right. So we can start, I think, in just 10 minutes in live. Yeah. So thank you everyone for joining. The ones that are here, and probably the ones that will watch the streaming as well. BitLab. No. BitLab. We were talking about more about the overall preparation for CCIE, right? Not SP. In my YouTube videos, I focus on CCIE or SP stuff and SP technologies because it's the one that I do the most in my day to day, right? But I think every preparation that you do for any CCIE, I think that it applies in very common percentage, right? Maybe there are some specific things that you might need to change from one CCIE to another. Obviously, the knowledge and the theory content, maybe try out some stuff as well, are different between technologies. But overall, I think that the way to study and the way to handle the learning process is quite similar, right? Okay, Eduardo says regards from Peru. Hey, Eduardo, thank you very much for joining. That's great. Okay, so maybe I will share a bit of myself. I am Juan Pablo, right? I'm from Bolivia. I'm born in Bolivia, and I started networking stuff very young, around 14 years. I started to be in the Cisco Academy in my country. I have been doing a lot of podcasts as well with my friend Tommy Tim. Maybe you know him, the ones that are Spanish speakers or Portuguese speakers. You know him. If not, I will leave you his channel. So I have been talking a lot with Tommy Tim in podcasts. We have been sharing how to prepare for different type of exams as well, and I have been doing some tips there in Spanish. So I have never done anything like podcasts or live in English, right? So that's why I thought that it's very good idea to have this session, and then we can share some knowledge. I leave you the channel of my friend. He's very good engineer, good person, and he also interviewed many people in Spanish and in Portuguese, talking everything about technology, right? So I started very young in in the networking area, right? 14 years I started in Cisco Academy. Then I finished at 16 years the academy, and then I started to prepare for the CCNA exam. So in that moment, there was the code was 640 802. I remember very well. So it was quite popular exam, and I remember in those times CCNA was the boom, right? So everything was purely related to routing and switching, and later they started to split the technology stuff. And um, I could describe my journey, let's say, networking with passion, right? So I truly believe that if you like or you love what you do, it's not a job for you, right? Obviously, there is a process of how to approach and how to learn, and then it's a give a try and fail, right? And then find your best path that works for you, right? But behind of that, there is a motivation to do that, right? The passion that you like to do those stuff. So that's very, very important, right? So so I started very young. I started at 14 years. I finished it at 16, the academy, and then I started to prepare for CCNA. I passed the CCNA after some months, and then CCNP. Then I passed CCNP after some months as well. There were 3 exams at that moment, and then I was looking for the CCIE, right? At the age of 17, I think I was trying to approach the exam because I like it, right? Cisco was a first sight love, let's say, in the professional field. I took this more as a hobby because I was in school. So it was a passion for me to do it. And then I looked for different ways to learn technologies, right? I remember I didn't speak very well English in that moment, and I didn't read English as well. So I started to read books in English by force, translating with dictionary or even with Google Translator in that moment. And then it helped out a lot, right? It took more time, but it helped. And this is also for the ones that are in the Spanish area or in your own language area as well, right? I mean, English is a must nowadays for technology. So we must know that, and the best content for different technologies are in English as well, right? So it's very important to have a good skill, right, in English, if you are in IT environment, right, overall. So then the exam for me was more it was more a challenge, let's say, a challenge dream to have it. And in the path of preparing for that, I have been looking through many resources, right? Even though at that moment in time, there were not many YouTube videos around different topics like multicast, for example, or IPv6. I remember multicast was almost no content in YouTube, I believe. And I think that nowadays also is a bit picky to find some multicast videos. And the same with others, right? There were some, but at least for the Spanish community, right? There was no that much. There were some blogs as well, but not like today, right? And today we can basically focus on one topic, look for ChatGPT or look for Google, and then try to find the specific topics and read it, right? So the way that worked for me in that moment is to first learn the theory. So I was dedicating to learn theory. I was reading books, right? And I truly believe that if you read the books are the official certification guides for the content, right? I understand that not everything is in the books, right? Because sometimes it's outdated, or sometimes you need to take a look at more recent technologies, right? But the beauty of the book that it goes into details, right? I remember very, very well multicast. That was a huge topic during my CCIE preparation, right? And there were not too much information about multicast. There was just one book called Multicast Routing. If you remember, this was the first volume. They never did the volume 2, right, for multicast routing until 3 years ago, I think. That they updated this, or even they kept with the volume 1, but they did update, and they include their MVPN profiles and all those stuff. in multicast, right? And multicast in enterprise and multicast in SDN as well. So there was some content about it related to multicast, right? Multicast, for example, applies to not to all, but to many of the CCIE's tracks, right? Enterprise, SP, data center as well. You must know something of multicast, right? And I remember that book was limited because this book was from 2000, multicast routing, from 2000. We were in 2015 or 16, if I remember correctly. So there were no content about BDR, for example. There were not content about MSDP, I think. Even worse, from MVPN profiles, there were no context about it. There were only purely multicast routing in this book, right? But believe me or not, I know multicast now, and I know MVPN profiles as well, some of the stuff and the concept of MVPN profiles, and I work day to day as well with some profiles in multicast. For the ones, I'm going more about the SP part content, right? With the fact of profiles. But my point is that I think that 80% of the knowledge that I have about multicast is because of that book, right? And the one that developed further is just addition, right? Addition that comes to the core knowledge, right? In that book, even it is from 2000, right? For example, multicast. And even now, if you are in your part of learning multicast for enterprise or DC or SP, especially for DC, right? In DC, you don't need to know profiles, right? You don't need to know MVPN profiles. The same probably in enterprise. You don't need to know MVPN profiles. You just need to know different variants of multicast, right? So even for those certifications and tracks, this book is quite useful, right? The volume 1 from 2000, right? Because it has the details, exactly the details about how multicast works, how ping experts dance mode together, RP selection, but even in the details of the message, right? How it goes, how the RP or the source reach the RP, how the RP reach the receiver, and it has drawings as well, right? So for me, this book is a very, 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 very if you want to learn multicast, it's a very nice book to have. And believe me or not, for those technologies, you will for enterprise and data center, again, you don't need to know too much about multicast, but in fact you must know multicast, right? This book is very, very nice. I will share the book here. It's actually in Cisco Press, right? IP Multicast Volume 1, Multicast Networking. I think it's they updated, because at that moment of time it was from 2000, so they did an update. I'm not sure about the content of this update, if it contains a previous knowledge. What I saw is that it contains profiles and everything, but the one that I talk is more from the 2000. Anyways, you can take a look, right? The specific book, I think in O'Reilly you can find as well the PDF. I'm trying to look now, and I'm Googling this. Yeah, I only see the one from 2016, or maybe it's this one. Yeah, probably it's this one. Sorry, maybe I was talking different stuff, but I guess it's this one. I guess it's this one, 2016, but I'm not sure if they did update, right, about this book. Yeah, so it's that book, right? It's that book, and it goes into details, right? It goes into the details exactly how the packet goes from the source to the RP. For the ones in the audience that knows multicast, then you know that the source send packets, registering packets to the RP. It goes over a tunnel tree, point-to-point tunnel tree, and then the RP receives the packet over a unicast in the tunnel, and then it starts to create the shortest path tree to the source, right? And then it sends the PIM join and prune message until the source, and it creates the shortest path tree from the RP to the source. And then if there is any receiver, then it propagates to the receiver, right? Over join and prune message as well. So, this type of details and topologies and drawings and encapsulation, this goes and it's in the book, right? All of those details, which probably in blogs or information out there, it will be really hard to get that much detail, right? From this specific technology I am talking, right? Because if you go to documentation, it will be more configuration, and it will be more high level, which is the way it has to be, right? For make it more digestible and useful. But the books goes into the details, right? BitLab said, is multicast, loving multicast on virtualized environment, is as efficient as having SPF and BGP, or do we need physics? No, you can do it in BVNG, you can do it in CML, you can do multicast routing, you can do profiles, you can do everything in multicast, right? You can do forwarding plane and control plane will work. You can put ostinato as well, and I didn't publish the video that I promised. I publish other related to sRPCE for the ones that are in SP community, but you can put in EVNG ostinato, you can put your topology, right? And you can forward multicast traffic and see the traffic forwarding. You don't need any specific equipment. Why? Because multicast doesn't work in hardware, right? Multicast work in software, so it's the iOS. That's why you can virtualize it. It's a bit different with some features. For example, perform measurements, right? That works in for the ones that are from SP, perform measurements that works, or BFD as well, right? I guess BFD is more common for all the technologies, because we all know that is more hardware specific sometimes, right? In XR, for example, right? It's hardware specific, so you cannot do labbing of that, or QoS as well in XR, right? So my point is that in that book, I found a lot of information, detailed information, right, about multicast. And the same was with other technologies, right? MPLS, for example. MPLS, which applies as well to enterprise, right? In enterprise, you must know a bit of MPLS. MPLS, I learned with MPLS Fundamentals book, for example, from Luke DeGain. I think it was the author. This book also goes into the details, but not only into the details of how it works. It goes behind of that as well, right? So how and why we need MPLS, right? Why we need MPLS? What were the ways that, or the options that were before MPLS? Peer-to-peer, I don't remember the other one, but there were two more before MPLS that all is explained in that book. And then there was a need of MPLS for forwarding the traffic in the SP environments, and enterprise as well. Many of them have an MPLS environment, right? Hey, Vi says there, hey, my friend, how have you? Hey, Vi, thank you very much for joining to the session. I appreciate you are here, man. Thanks a lot. So, the same with MPLS. MPLS was MPLS Fundamentals. For the ones that read this book, it goes into the details as well, and even before, what happened before MPLS, right? Multicast, the same. What was before multicast? Even you can find there DMBRP, I think. This was for IGRP multicast, right? So Catalin said, for MPLS and MPLS-T, I recommend Luke DeGain live lesson. Perfect. Thank you for sharing that, Catalin. Very, very good advice. That's the idea, right? That we share the knowledge and we provide info between us, and then we can learn together everything from experience, right? So feel free to drop any message in the chat as well if you believe that something worked for you, or what to check before what, because we all learn from that, right? So that's very, very important. So my point with all of those comments about the books and everything is that sometimes the books that are the same, for example, with TCP/IP, right? Volume 1 and Volume 2. This goes into details as well, how routing works, right? Even though that in ISIS or OSPF or other technology, BGP, many things happened, right? Address families, EVPN address families, MVPN, right? Address family, and different other stuff. Even though that these appear in later books, right? Those books have the core, right? Have the core. Now, I understand that books are very intensive, time consuming, let's say. We can say like that, right? It takes time to read books. You will not read it in 1 week, right? least if you dedicate time, you could try to advance that much. Or if you are ready with the technology, right, you can try to um, to read it faster, right, and just go to the point that you need, or go through the things, right. But my point is that the most that you will learn and the most details that you find is the best, right. Now, there is another thing very, very important there that I suffered during my study path, right. Sometimes a book is very detailed, so it has a lot of information, and this can make you drunk, right. This can make you drunk, and this can confuse you, and it happens, right. It's part of the process of learning. For those cases, then you can identify what are the things that make you drunk in the book, right. What are the things that you lost? Because if you go directly to learn BGP from scratch, and you expect that you will learn the deepest of BGP, like I don't know, intra-S with next hop on change, let's say, for SP guys, right? If you believe that you will like to go into that detail, if you are learning for CCIE service provider, for example, if you expect that you will go into that level of detail quickly, then that's or in one reading, or in some time of reading, that's very challenging, right? Because if you don't know anything about BGP, you first need to know basics of BGP, right? The basic ones. And if the book provides you the basics plus addition, right, plus many details, just take the basics, right? Don't go into the details. Just take the basics and practice, right? Learn the basics. If you are new to one protocol or technology, at least what worked for me, right? I learned the basic, what I need to know for this protocol to work, to make it functional, to make it what it has to be done, right? For example, ISIS, establish adjacency. How to establish adjacency? I need net ID. I need different interface types, similar interface types, the MTU and those things. Make it work, test it out, try it, and then keep it with that, right? Make sure that you learn that very good. And then you go to the details, right? Okay, point-to-point interface. Later you go to segment routing. Later you go to how to enable for SRTE, right? And then you go into more and more details, right? To be honest, for me, this book of multicast routing, it makes me drunk sometimes, right? Because it goes into very, very detailed one. But I believe that this book it goes into details, but also is very well explained. So it's very well written, very well written. Even though if you want to go into details, you will understand, right? You will understand. But now to remember everything, that will take time, right? Because you need to practice, and that's the other key of the learning process, right? You need to practice, right? Don't only learn the theory and keep with that, thinking that you will remember it, right? No, you need to practice. And sometimes I understand, at least for me, right? Sometimes was a bit, maybe not at the beginning, because at the beginning I was doing a lot of labs. I was spending a lot of time labbing, doing the same thing many times. And this is also how we create habits, right? You do the things many times. If you want to create some habit, you need to do the things many times. That's how you get used to get habits in normal life, right? So the same in the preparation, right? If you want to retain some knowledge, you need to lab it. You need to learn and configure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Again, repeated everything, configure, repeating everything, configure, destroy, rebuild, create, be creative, right? Create your own topologies as well. But first, retain the knowledge, right? And how you retain theory, practice. Because I also felt, in my case, I felt in the way that I was reading, and I believe that I will understand it, right? I need to practice this, right? Or I just need to do one time and it will keep it. But no, I did one time and then, or 2 times, and then it was like, okay, I need to recap more. I need to read more. But if I was doing it and practicing many times, it kept the knowledge there, right? It kept the knowledge there until later, right? So that's why, people say practice. Yes, it's very important to practice, but every time that you practice before, get the knowledge and then practice. And then sum up things into that, right? Sum up different specific details of the technologies into that knowledge and then implement in your lab. In the cases of SP, for example, it's very common, right? I mean, it's very the beauty of SP is that everything is combined. So you have the underlay, then it goes the overlay. So you have IP addressing, you have ISIS, you have BFD on top, you have maybe perform measurements for a specific topic, then you have segment routing, then you have BGP, then you have services, and all the stuff are going in pillars, right? That's how it works in CCISP, right? You have a combined environment, right? That make it a bit less difficult, right? From my perspective. But if you are going, for example, to security, then security is a bit hard, right? I mean, it's not like layers, right? It's different products that they behave different. They have different purpose. So it's like puzzles that are around, and then you need to learn those technologies independently and then try to combine them, right? Somehow combine together, right? They are not combined by default. I mean, one technology can exist without the other, right? So ICE can exist without ACA, right? So you don't need ICE or ACA for make it ICE to work, right? In SP, it's different because you need ISIS for BGP to work, for services to work. You need segment routing for services to work, right? So that's the difference, for example, compared to security. An enterprise is a bit similar than SP. You know, you have the layers as well. In fact, enterprise compared to SP, I think that 80% of the content that you learn in enterprise will work for SP and vice versa. So that's why for people that joins to enterprise, it's a bit easier or less difficult to go to SP because all the knowledge is there. OSPF, IGPs, layer 2 stuff, MPLS, IPv6, all those things are in SP as well, and also are in enterprise, right? Now with SDN and SD1, SDA, this is addition on enterprise, right? That makes the difference, right? And nowadays it's taking a big percentage of the exam, I think, 30%, if not more, right? But then look for your exam, right? Look if your exam has this combined environment like SP or a bit distributed like security, right? And then try to add the knowledge in that side, right? Theory, practice. Theory, learn something in theory. Don't continue until you are in the top and learning everything, right, of the technology. Just reach some limit until make it work. Practice, and then you expand the knowledge a bit. It's like trees, right? Go to the tree and then try to expand whenever you feel confident that you can build this in your lab and you can do it by yourself. That you can practice and you don't need to look for the configuration guidelines, or you don't need to look for the theory, or you don't need to look for anything, right? Practice at the level that you will feel confident to build by yourself, right? That's why, for example, when I was learning multicast, I felt comfortable to build everything in an SP environment, ISIS, segment routing, services by myself, right? Without looking into books or configuration guidelines. I kept all the commands in my head because I practice a lot, right? So practicing, you can retain the knowledge, and then it's easier to jump into something else, right? And then obviously when you have the knowledge, it's easier to jump into different technologies because some of them are common, right? In security, you also see OSPF, you also see ACLs, you also see some security hardening in the devices, right? You also see a bit of automation as well, right? So you see many things. I mean, all is integrated at the end in a campus environment or a service provider. All of them has security, DC as well, right? So for sure you can reuse some part from some, right? That's for sure. So until now we saw, all books are the best from my perspective. The news too, right? The news contains the theory and level of detail as well. I mean, don't discard that. And that's another topic that I want to share, right? At least for me, in the case of multicast, okay, I read the multicast routing book, but also I went to look for blogs, right, in internet. Try to understand other people's view, right? Don't be close to that as well. because at the end you need to create your own perspective, right, from the learning. So how the protocol works and how you create your own perspective, you need to look for different resources, right? Not only one. You need to look for different resources, and maybe what someone says here is not really applicable, right, to this. Or maybe this got outdated, right? And then there's something new, right? So try to look for blogs, books. Katalin was saying Cisco Live Lesson, right? Uh, and then go through that, right? Go through those resources and try to absorb it. You will not always, at least from my perspective, right? When I was focusing only on one source of knowledge, that was great, but I felt that I needed something else, right? That probably the book was not my style, or I didn't learn as I or someone else supposed to learn, right? And this is very common because it's very common that we recommend books, right? That, okay, read these books for preparing for the CCIE, right? Or read this book for preparing for the CCIE, and that's very perfectly fine. The thing is that we are different, so we don't absorb the knowledge in the similar way for some specific source of knowledge, right? So some of us might prefer videos, some of us might prefer books, right? Or even in books, some of us might prefer different book than one book, because for us the author explains better in our understanding, right? That's why it's important that if someone points you to one book, that you should read one book, and this is have everything and all the information, but you don't feel that you are absorbing everything correctly and that is not with your flow and your way to learn, look for another resource, right? Look for another one that will make the things easier for you to learn. And then once you learn from this easiest book for you, come back to the hardest one, and then with the new knowledge you will be able to deep dive more and more and more, and probably to understand the book, right? That's, or the video, or the blog, or YouTube stuff, right? I mean, teachers or people explain things different, right? That not fits to everyone. That's why it's the lovely variety around the content and around a lot of things, right? We not all of us like the similar things, right? It's the same apply with the technology and the study path. We all have our own way to learn and our own resources, right? That's why it's really important to look for what fits you. And once these things that is easier for you to understand the basic, go to the hardest book for you and see if you understand now, right? Because at least that's happened to me, that I was reading one book. Okay, I don't find future myself with the book, at least not for the beginner. I went to another book, I absorbed the knowledge, I understood very well what was the meaning of that, and then I came back to this book, the hardest one for me, and then I absorbed the knowledge very easy because I got the basics from other book, right? Or other video, or other content, or other blog, right? So that's how I switch from different type of resources. Videos, books. If I didn't find in books, I went to videos to find how the protocol works, how exactly the protocol works, at least to some level that I will be able to understand, right? And then I move out to the hardest books for me and try to deep dive into that. That's how was my learning process, right? From the theory perspective, content perspective. Because if we know something, then we will practice, right? It has to be fun for you, and you should process that in your mind, right? You should be able to understand that. That's why you need to look for the easiest things first for you to learn, and then practice, come back to the hardest one. If you don't understand, come back to the easiest one, try to deep dive more, and then come back to the hardest one, deep dive, and then you will understand, right? And if not, if you don't understand, look for another resource that will give you that understanding, and then come back to the hardest book and try to understand, right? That's the way that I learned it. And this is not limited to book as well. You can have videos, you can have blogs. I remember, and I think that for the guys that are in SP, right, in the audience, we all know how painful is MVPN, right? We all know how hard it is to learn profiles and the theory behind of that, right? And probably the content out there is not that much easily digestible, right? Even in the books, it's a bit harder to process that, right? If we go to the books, the volume 2, for example, of multicast, it's really hard to process that, right? If you don't have the theory, really the theory deep dive behind of the profiles and everything. So we must look for that, right? I remember for me it was very hard to learn MVP and profiles. It was really hard. I was not catching any content. I was not catching anything that was available. Everything was too general, or not. I was not absorbing that too well as well. And then sometimes you need to do brute force too, right? I mean, that's also normal. In my case, for example, for multicast, I did brute force. I had to force myself to go through the books or the videos that even I didn't understand at one side. I had to repeat this 3 times, 4 times the video to take notes, put in paper, just like in brute force. It's not something that you look that is easier to understand. Sometimes the technology information is hard out there, and you are starving from resource that you are able to understand, and then you need to do brute force sometimes, right? Or at least that's what I did, right? In some particular topics. But now I think there are plenty of information out there, blogs, YouTube videos, books, right? That you can find the flow in yourself, right? What's the best for learn to you? That's for the theory, right? For the theory, that's the way that I do, and I apply this to everything, right? To everything, every new learning that I do in new certification or in some topic that I want to learn, I apply to that, right? Now for the practice, right? For the practice is, I know that most of us first look, okay, I want a guideline, right? A book, workbook, for example. What workbook I should do, right? For learning this or for learning that, right? Or for learning for CCIE, right? What workbook I should follow for doing labbing, right? There are many availables out there, and actually you can take bootcamps as well from many vendors like Micronics or I think INE as well is there, or even there are others vendors out there as well, which are good, right? But for preparing for CCIE, from my perspective, and what I did was going technology by technology, sorry. Multicast, OSPF, HRP, PGP, ISIS, MVPN profiles in the case of CCIE service provider, automation, SD-WAN in the case of enterprise, right? Piece by piece. Go piece by piece, technology by technology. Don't try to put everything together, right? Because this will be at the ending part when you know everything, right? You know most of the technologies there. Go piece by piece, right? Okay, this week I will do HRP. Next week or next weeks I will do OSPF. I will read everything that is available for OSPF or for HRP that I find it useful. Do research. What fits you, right? What books fits you? What blogs fits you? Read a bit of the books blogs at the beginning and try to see if you catch the flow. If you catch the flow, okay, put in your note or in your saving folder. Okay, I should read this for OSPF. I should read this for ISIS. I should read this book for this because the introduction was good, right? And put all the resources there. Then every week or every 2 weeks, put you some targets, right? Okay, this week I will learn OSPF. I have all the resources to read, the blogs, the books, the YouTube videos, everything. Then I dedicate purely to the technology. So I dedicate purely to OSPF. Then I learn OSPF, I practice, I do a lab, a small lab. You don't need to do bigger lab, right? At the beginning when you are learning, exactly, Juan, technology by technology. So do technology by technology at the beginning, or at least that's what worked for me, right? Go technology by technology, do labbing, understand the theory. Once you filter your books or your resources, understand the theory, what is easier for you to understand, then do labbing, practice, go a bit more deep dive in the technology, what requires the exam. You have the blueprint there, so you can know more or less what is required. Go technology by technology, deep dive, do labbing, understand, do more labbing, destroy your lab, put more devices, scale more devices to different areas in OSPF, different, I don't know, different filters between areas, filters externally in OSPF, purely to OSPF, right? Purely to OSPF. Don't mix with anything related to other protocols. Only purely OSPF. Dedicate the time to OSPF, to ISIS, to BGP, to segment routing, to IS, to SD1, to SD access, right? Um, I know that for those technologies, it's very hard to virtualize. I'm not sure if there is some virtual labs that you can take out there, but if there is, take it, right? Whenever you are in that technology part, take it, right? Um, so technology by technology, choose your books, choose your lectures, your videos. I remember one time when I was learning in ACI, I was learning, sorry, in DC, I was learning, I was praying for CCIE DC. So I was trying to find a very good resource for UCS because I was new in UCS. I didn't have that much practice. I had one friend that has experience, and I could absorb the knowledge, but I wanted to read something by myself. That's the best that you can do, right? Sometimes we expect that other people can teach us, but the best is to go by ourselves, right? To learn by ourselves, because we get to know what we need, right, for studies. So then I was deep diving into configuration guidelines. It was not that much information. There was information, but more like when you understand more things of the theory. Blogs, there was not too many blogs as well about UCS. And then I found a video, live lesson, I think, in O'Reilly, about UCS. And I shared this I think, in some of my posts in LinkedIn or in YouTube comments. I think I shared this link for the UCS, and this was the best that I could find and really, really digestible for beginners in UCS, right? There was no deep dive on that. There was only the one that I need for the information of this UCS. And this was very nice introduction for me, right? It helped me a lot to understand basics. I learned basics, I practiced basics. Then I went to the configuration guidelines, to the hardest part that I couldn't understand at first sight. And then it was much more digestible for me, right? And then I continue like that, right? Because sometimes, again, we jump into hardest things, but we don't need to go to hardest if you are just starting, right? Go to the easiest one. Basic things. You need to learn the basics, and then you deep dive into the hardest one. That's why there is CCNA, CCNP, CCIE, right? Because you need to go first to CCNA, CCNP, CCIE. I mean, in certification, but if you are new. Obviously, if you have experience and you have seen many things, then probably you can skip, right, some of them. And then I will reply to the comments. BitLab says, in your opinion, when it's time to attend to boot camps at the start of the CCIE journey? No, I think that BitLab, and I will go through that, the best time for attend to boot camps, from my perspective, is at the end. Because I will tell you this, when I was studying for CCIE, I was going technology by technology, right? I was digesting whatever that can be useful for me and I could understand, right? I was practicing a lot, technology by technology. I was going through. Then once I knew technology by technology, I went to unify everything. So I combined things. For example, in the case of CCIE Enterprise, I put it an MPLS network, and then I put it a layer 2 domain. I was practicing a spanning tree as well. I remember purely layer 2 at the beginning, technology by technology. When I combined everything, I was putting some switches there to do a spanning tree, some PE routers for doing the layer 3 VPN, router effectors here, some other sites out there, internet exit point in some other part there. I was putting the pieces, right? Like the toy, right? Putting the pieces together and practicing all together. Once you know the technology, you practice all together. And then once you practice all together, then it feels different, right? Because you can do it, right? You know the technology, you know the theory, you have practicing all of them independently. Now it's time to combine them, right? And you combine all of them, and at the first time, okay, it might be even not as you expect. You might miss many things, but then you do the same again and again and again and again. Destroy your lab, put again, look in the config if you forgot something is fine, put again and again and again and again, and then with the practice you will be able to do all your lab by yourself, right? You will remember everything. You will discover new things probably as well, right? So piece by piece, first prepare the pieces, build the pieces first, and then combine the pieces all together, like a puzzle, right? So find the pieces all together, and then once you know everything, combine, right? And combining, practice combining, practice combining, practice combining, and then after many times, you will be able to combine the piece very easily, right? But first you need to recognize the pieces, right? It's like the puzzle. You need to recognize the pieces, know how it is, try to adjust this together, and then you know by right away how to do it, right? It's the same in this part from my perspective, right? Now, once you know the whole picture and you have practiced a lot and you put your creativeness, maybe I will add, in the case of enterprise and SP, maybe I will add one side there, right? Maybe I will add, I will communicate, I don't know, BRF green with BRF yellow, and then I will put internet extra share or extranet shared services, and I will play with the route targets, and maybe I will put some filter to only allow a specific voice prefixes. You know, you play with your mind, creativeness, to add more challenges into the lab, and then you configure that, you practice that, right? You practice that, and once you have all that practice, then it's kind of I mean, you build that, right? So you put your imagination, your creativity there. So CCIE, the exam, it's characterized for having a lot of devices, right? And a lot of technologies. Okay, add more, right? During your practice, add more devices. At the end is the same thing, right? Same technologies. There is nothing new once you practice technology by technology, right? Then add more devices, scale more, makes your creativeness to drive in, right? Scale more. And then when you will realize you will have 40 devices in the network, and that will be your CCIE training, right? Put more devices, then destroy everything and build everything again, right? Build everything again. Now, once you dominate all of that in your own way, you know how to build this kind of a scaling lab. You know how to configure that. You can do it in timing. You can type fast. You can do that. Then it's like you are progressing, right? By levels. And when you are here somehow in your learning, you know a lot of things already, right? You know a lot of things. So you can, okay, maybe I missed this, so I will incorporate this piece in my knowledge, right? Because this piece is from one topic here down and I didn't consider, so I will include this in my knowledge, right? So then it's easier to absorb things that you missed in your path learning, right? In this path learning, you don't need to know everything. You just need to know the basics plus topics that the exam cover. You might or might not miss some stuff, but you need to know the core topics that you can't miss, right? You need to know the core topics. Then the subjacent stuff you can add. For example, service provider. You need to know ISIS, segment routing, BGP, layer 3 PN services. Maybe you miss it to add TLFA, right? Maybe you miss it to add SRTE with dynamic ODN configuration. You know, those pieces that are probably at the beginning not a core, but later, once you know the core, it's easier for you to take that learn, and it's easier to learn also, right? Because you know the core. Once you know the core, you can absorb knowledge and put things in, right? That's the beauty of the learning. Once you are learning the core and the basics, you add more knowledge, right? And this more knowledge you practice and put in a lab, and you try again and try, absorb until you are able to configure and you're able to do it, right? Now, you can build your own labs, right, as well. You might have reference of how labs for the CCIE in your technology might be built and how more or less looks like, right? But during your way of discovery and learning for the technologies, you will understand how are normally the labs, right, for those technologies. You understand normally how are the labs, what devices, what to consider, how the topologies look like, right? Obviously, you can look for reference as well as I said, the vendors, right? Like INE or Micronix trainings or other vendors as well. You can take reference of how the topologies looks like and try to do something similar. And later you put your creativeness, right? But once you have everything, then I think that once you have everything and you learn a lot of things and you practice a lot, then that's the moment to do the bootcamp, right? Once you know everything, because you will think, okay, I learned a lot during this process. I know a lot of things. I practice a lot. I invest a lot of time, right? I want to know if there is something new, at least in my stage, right? That I am in my learning process. I couldn't find something new, or maybe I miss it, but I feel ready enough to understand core plus more things. So then I go to the bootcamp, and in the bootcamp, I take advantage of everything because my level is high, right? I mean, I have prepared a lot, right? So then I want to know if there is something else I need to learn for this exam. Something else. Of course, there will be probably something else that you need to learn. Always will learn anything, even though that most of the topics we have covered, but always will learn from everyone and different courses. Even that we already have the knowledge, we always learn. But you will feel, right? Okay, let's try to drop the doubts about what I am missing. So I go to a bootcamp, then you investigate the bootcamp, you see what bootcamp is good, contain the content that you want, feedback, etc., and you do your own research, right? By your own, and you decide which bootcamp is good or for you and for your level of knowledge as well, right? You ask people how is the bootcamp and stuff like that. If you talk too much of this topic in the bootcamp or not, or what type of topology you do, with all the knowledge that you have gathered, you have power also of decision. You have the knowledge, so you can decide what is better for you, because you know what you need, right? You know what you need and you know what is your level. So then you can do much better decision by yourself, listening feedback, right? So that's why BitLab is better to take bootcamp at the latest stage, when you have passed all your journey learning the technology by technology, combined together, labbing, destroying, putting back again, adding new knowledge whenever you find that you are missing that, and then doing more labs, going to bootcamps. Okay, in the bootcamp you can say as well, okay, I think that I already knew 95% of this bootcamp. I missed the 5% of the bootcamp, so that's a plus for me because I learned, right? I practiced what I already knew more. I practice more, which is always good. I practice with new topologies, which is always good. Plus, I learned the 5% that I needed, that I was missing, right? And then you feel that, okay, I am ready for the exam, right? Because I have built this many times. Similar stuff I have built many times, so I have the knowledge. I have the speed, right? I have the mindset of what to configure in this situation, in this situation, in this situation. So I have many resources now, right, to approach the exam. And then you go to the exam. If you fail, okay, that's fine as well. You have the experience. You didn't know how the exam was, what you need to learn, but you have all your knowledge and what you have been through in this training or epoch of learning, the boot camp, etc. You have been to the exam with a lot of information, and then it's easier for you to say, okay, I missed this or I missed that because this I already knew, but I missed this, right? And then you know what you miss, right? You know what you are missing, and you come back and practice again, right? And do it again. Maybe I missed the thinking process of how to associate the things in the exam, maybe, right? So then you come back and you practice what you missed, and you add more experience, and then the second try you come back with all the knowledge already gathered during this time, and then it's like that, right? You give a try. But if you and from all of this, what many people recommends, right, is persistency, because you are persistent, right? You are learning a lot of things and you are keep it going, right? You don't drop up these things, right? That's why keep it going, and persistence is very important, right? practice as well. Many people say practice. Yes, you need to practice. You need to practice a lot, because when if you fail, you come back and you practice what you fail. You learn and you come back with the same approach, right? Learn specific things that you miss, practice, learn, practice, build in your big lab, and then practice, right? That's what worked for me, right? That's my process, right? That I do for every exams, right? That's what worked for me, right? And for me, it's always good to have those books that are very deep, because you can know details, right? Very small details about packets and fields in the packets, right? That sometimes it's hard to remember, but it gives you the open window of many things, right? Let's say, do you think after being approved in core exam it's recommended to start using workbooks? Yeah, I think that in any stage, very soon, right? To use workbooks. I mean, if you have a workbook available that is helping you in your process for CCNP exam, yeah, use it. Whatever that brings you the knowledge, in at least from my perspective, anything that brings you the knowledge in this process, technology by technology, combination together, whatever that works for you, put it there, right? Include it, right? Obviously, in the case of the workbooks, it's mainly workbooks are normally practice, so include in your practice, right? Though what I like is to create my own topologies at the beginning, right? So the topologies that small topologies to understand the basic, then grow, and the workbooks normally give you those ready topologies, right? For combine everything, or maybe topologies for technology specific, right? So those are very good, right? Some workbooks I think give you they are split by technologies. I remember that workbooks when I attended the bootcamp with Marvik in microinstream, it was very nice, very good. I really recommend as well. It's very, very nice. And the workbooks has those technology difference, right? That makes you to boost this part, right? And I would say don't rely your knowledge only in technology, in the workbooks, sorry. Don't rely only your practice in the workbooks. The practice are very good in workbooks. They are awesome, but you need to do yourself as well, right? By yourself. Create your own stuff, right? Do by yourself as well. Use the workbook as an addition and practice for you to challenge you, right? So that's very cool. But also I would say, and I recommend, create your own stuff, right? I mean, the workbooks is good, but create your own things. Put two devices, test OSPF, adjacency, debug the packets going there, try different areas, try the loop preventions in OSPF interarea, right? Try what happens if you don't have area 0, for example. Try it, right? So these type of things, that a lab, it's hard that you will find in a workbook, right? These type of things, that trying without area 0. I guess I have not seen any workbook to try a lab without having area 0, right? See what happened. See the loop prevention of that, right? See the loop prevention between interarea without having area 0, for example, right? So that's what I would say. Then it says, Barison as well, another question is, how do you recommend to bridge the gap between what's that, Barison? I think it's a book, right? That is made for, I think it's from Narvik, right? From Narvik Kocharians, if I'm not mistaken. Bridge the gap between, let me take a look, I'm not sure. Bridge the gap between CCNP and CCIE. Maybe if you can tell me in the chat if it's from Narvik. Yeah, it's from Narvik. You say, okay. I didn't read the book from Narvik, but I believe if it comes from him, then it's very good, right? I cannot tell you a feedback because I didn't read the book, but Narvik is very good instructor, right? He has years in the field, and I went to his bootcamp. It was very great. I practiced a lot. I like it a lot, the bootcamp. I learned also new things. If he does book this bridge the gap, then it's for sure probably it will have good content, right? But again, we come back to the same thing that we were saying at the beginning, right? Use this as your tool, right? Don't rely on one book only. Look for different materials, right? As well. The perspective that this book can give you, that's very cool, and it will help you and you will grow there. But if you want to go a bit beyond that, look for another blog, for example, or in the topics, right? Good for another blog, a YouTube video from someone that has been training or has been practicing for the exam. Go for that YouTube video, learn his perspective or her perspective, right? Absorb that into your knowledge, and then start to build your resources, right? And then you will have your own perspective, right? Your own view of the things. What's my point, right? BitLab said, do you recommend to subscribe to CCIE video course at the beginning of the study for CCIE, for example, Kavitz? CCIE video course at the beginning of the study for CCIE. I mean, I think that, again, we come back, Kavit, BitLab, for the same point, right? Whatever that works for you. I think that the structure, at least what worked for me, the structure is the same, right? So I follow the same structure, technology by technology, whatever that works for me, and I feel that is good, right? Good content, and I will absorb knowledge, and it will help me with the specific topics. Good, I will add into my pocket, right? Kavitz, I think, is from Kauerbat. He's amazing instructor as well, right? Kauerbat is very, very, very good as well, and he's very, very. He's playing the things very well, and he also devote to that, right? So that definitely, I think that you will find very, very good content. But we come back to the same roots, right? The same roots. So technology by technology, I did what worked for me. Technology by technology, even if it's CCIE level, check if you can understand that. If you can understand that, include that. If you cannot, leave it. Try to look for another thing that you will understand better. Understand the basics. Go to that resource, and then, since it's CCIE level, include it, right? Include in your pocket, right? That's my view. The core things will be similar, right? At least how I study, it will be similar, and I will look in what content I absorb the best, and I can process better the things and find the learning the basics, and then even if I don't understand, I will come back to that to understand, because probably it's not a book, probably it's me, right? That I need to increase my knowledge, right? So that's the thing. I believe that there is no hardest book, just that we don't have the enough knowledge at that moment, or the enough understanding, we can say like that, for reading the book, right? That's what I feel personally in many of those occasions. I felt that the book was really hard to read. I couldn't read. I went to learn the basics in another book, and I came back, and then I understood better, right? Everything, and with the detail that I want, right? So that's my suggestion, BitLab, yeah. And from Coward and Narvik is amazing experience that I have been having in absorbing the knowledge, right? But again, come back to your roots. Learn the basics, include the knowledge later on, right? To the level that you want to achieve. And I think this applies for everything, right? Not only for CCIE, for any certification, anything that you are learning, AI stuff or whatever technology you are learning. That's what I follow, right? I have built a 40 routers lab for SSMP service provider. Yeah, that's very good, very soon. So the most you practice, the most you will get to know, right? Practice is the key. Many people say, right? Practice is the key. Yeah, but without practice, without theory, you don't have practice, right? So you need to know theory, you practice more, you forget the theory, come back to theory, relearn, practice again, practice until you retain the theory, and then you just practice, right? That's the way I learned. Okay. that's it. The suggestion that I can do for the for the for the CCIE prep, right? That's my small sharing of advice to you. What worked for me. Please don't take this as a rule. I mean, look if this worked for you. Look for other people's suggestions as well. Analyze, and whatever you observe that you believe is the best way for you to learn, that's the best, right? We all are different. We have different methods of learning. We have different methods of approaching things. That's my method. That's what worked for me, and that's what I use it for going to the exams and learning the technology and absorbing things and stuff like that, right? And I don't believe that there is a good way or only way to read books only because you will find details there, or watching videos only because you will find things much easier explained there. No, it's everything. Whatever is there, you don't need to take a piece of cake, right? If you can take the whole cake. So you can take the whole cake, why you will take only a piece of cake, right? So doesn't make too much sense, right? Now, maybe we'll spend a bit more minutes for the home lab, right? The home lab, well, personally, I prepare for those heavy routers, XR, for example, with my own computer, 16 gig of RAM, and I think that was 8 cores, if I'm not mistaken, and 500 gig of disk size. That's what worked me for emulated around 12 XR routers or 10 XRV routers. Nowadays, not only for service provider, for security, when I was preparing for security, for DC, for enterprise, I think I needed a server, right? And I think that if you are going to prepare for an exam that needs a lot of resources, like security, for example, security requires a lot of resources because you have the ASA, you have the ICE, you have the web proxy server, you have a lot of things, the next generation firewalls as well, the firepowers, right? So this requires a lot of resources, right? And for that, you can rent lab. I mean, if you want, there are people that rent labs out there, or you can buy a server as well, right? You can buy a server. You can build your own lab. In my case, I bought this server here. I will share with you. This server was when I was preparing for CCIE security. So I bought this server and I could emulate everything there. Now I use that for the YouTube video, for my courses, for everything that needs to be virtualized there. And everything works very, very cool in this server. Now in this server, you can put VMware ESXi there, or you can install EVNG as well in the bare metal, right? So there is a way that you can install EVNG in the bare metal. I use EVNG together with the Pro version because I think that it can scale and can create better diagrams. So that's why I use that. But I think that you can use with the community one. But with the Pro, you get some support as well, right? How to build your stuff. So that's very cool. So yes, for the home lab, I use that server, and any certification now that I will prepare or I am preparing, or labbing for YouTube, all of that, I use that, and it's very, very good, stable. Now, you don't need to use this server, right? Look for the same characteristic, look for a good brand that is stable. You can buy in much less price, right? But more or less, that's the characteristic of server that I was using for CCIE security, and it works pretty well, right? I was able to virtualize ASA, ICE, firepower, many XC nodes and XR as well at the same time, and still I had resource for using, right? So the only thing that you need in those type of exams that require a lot of hardware is hardware, right? So look for hardware that it satisfies enough what you need, right? That's the most important. Not necessarily needs to be this one. It can be other one as well, right? Yeah, one is 16 gig that I use for SP. In that time, now I think that you need more because there are other things included probably, right? Okay, guys, so we are crossing the 1 hour already. Um, any questions until now? I want to share a bit of my experience and knowledge about all this learning process. If you have any questions, feel free to drop in the chat. I mean, we are 8 people now. We were around 15 in our top, but the idea is that this also will be recorded for future people that will come to the channel, right? Anything you wanna ask, or we are all good and we can keep closing. Okay, so there is no comments, no more comments. I think it was very interactive, at least for me. I saw that there were many people in the chat, and that was very good. Um, so again, it's like my strategy, right? It's my way to study, my way to approach things, pillars, technologies. At least for the case of the exams, I split in technologies and I absorb topic by topic. The same I do with other things a part of technology, right? Topic by topic, and then you combine all together that needs to be combined, right? And then practice, 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 and practice more. That's the key for everything, right? Okay, so then we can keep closing. I really thank you, all of you, for joining, and I hope that I have been providing some useful content and useful suggestions. If any questions, just drop some comment in the YouTube videos. I'm launching a lot of videos as well recently. I have been motivated for doing that. Please share if you like it, the content. I hope that it will meet your expectation and you will absorb some knowledge from that. And if you can support it with a subscriber and like, that will be really great. A comment is appreciated as well. I will try to answer as much as I can and provide some knowledge as well. Not necessarily will be about SP, but for this season, I believe it will be purely SP videos, right? That I will do, and I hope you enjoy that, right? I do this for fun and the fact of sharing the knowledge and helping some people to jump into the career and try to give some advice and some knowledge about different features that probably are not out there, right? So that's it. We can finalize the session then, and thank you very much everyone for joining and being here and being talkative and listening me and allow me to share some advice to you. So I hope you have a very good end of the Sunday and have a nice week ahead. Ciao, ciao. Thank you.